Hi everyone, I am Penny Eitrigg, a infamous troll or whatever from World of Warcraft years ago, and also a martial arts athlete participant person thing, whatever. And basically I heard that someone named Jake Paul was planning to fight Amanda Nunes. Now, Amanda Nunes is a record-breaking MMA fighter, and not very arguably the best female fighter in all of history. Like, better than myself, even, dare I say. I've definitely never had the opportunity to meet Amanda Nunes. I've definitely never sparred her. I don't know what she's like, but I'm fairly confident that she could whoop my butt. And I don't really think I would have a chance, against her. But that's just because I'm a reasonable, rational person with some degree of self-awareness. But there is a lot of other people in the world who lack self-awareness and who think just because they're male, they can win a fight with a superior female fighter, because obviously being female discredits everything you do. In fact, being female makes everything a little bit more cutesy, almost like you're like a Barbie doll or a Bratz doll or like one of those little baby LOL dolls. If you're female, all of a sudden, everything you do is just for show. It's just like these adorable little hobbies like knitting, crocheting, selling cookware from your home. It's not actually supposed to lead to your success. It's just decorative things so your husband can feel like you're keeping yourself busy while he goes out to the bar and does whatever the heck he wants. Women just need to stay busy. Like, they don't actually have important lives. It's not like our lives actually matter. Anyway, okay. Sorry for the rant. What I actually feel morally obligated to explain to people is that boxing and MMA are not the same sport. Now, I trained in boxing for, I believe, a grand total of 3 years, which is not very long compared to the rest of my martial arts training. I have sparred pro-level MMA fighters. I have sparred pro-level boxers, not just pro-level, but multiple world champion boxers I have sparred with. I have worked with a 3-time world champion boxer, teaching classes with him. What else? I've sparred professional Muay Thai fighters. I've sparred amateur Muay Thai fighters. I've sparred amateur boxers. I've sparred police officers. I have wrestled wrestlers, at least one world champion wrestler and others who I don't know as much information about, but I knew they were competitive wrestlers. I sparred a wrestling coach one time too. I have sparred a lot of people, and I have sparred the occasional, like, completely untrained man who was like his first day pretty much. Maybe he had a little bit of experience at some point in his life, but for the most part, he didn't know what he's doing. I have a lot of experience sparring people, specifically in boxing, because boxing was what I decided was my favorite martial art. So I can tell you for sure that sparring with even just kicks added is way different from sparring in boxing. So what is the difference between boxing and any other martial art? Well, boxing is only about punching. That is actually the only way that you are allowed to hurt your opponent. And that doesn't mean that all you have to do is know how to punch. You have to actually know how to move in a certain way to avoid being punched in the head and then protect yourself if you are about to be punched somewhere in the body. So the footwork is different from other martial arts. The posture is different from different martial arts. The things that you have to work into your muscle memory is different from other martial arts. And if you use the same type of movement that you use in boxing, in an MMA ring, if you go into the cage and you try to move like a boxer in MMA, you are going to get hurt. You are going to get severely injured. It is not safe to do that. And then in turn, there's a lot of things that aren't allowed in boxing. There's a lot of really, really strict rules in boxing and a lot of things that you can't do. So pretty much the only thing you can do is punch and not get punched. Those are your two things. Those are your two jobs. It's very simple in theory. It's simple in theory, but challenging in practice. I will say that. So they're not the same sport. And I am actually willing to say, and I repeatedly warn people about this, that boxing and MMA are about as different as basketball and soccer. Now, the reason for that is because they both require the same types of skill sets. They both require agility. They both require endurance. They both require you to have depth perception and to be what is really called as proprioception. And proprioception is your awareness of where your own body is, how far away from you someone is. Like, can I punch you when you're standing right there, or do I need to move in closer? Can I catch the ball from this position, or do I need to move a little bit more to my right? That is what proprioception is. It's awareness of where you are and awareness of where other things are in relationship to you. So all of these sports work on these great, amazing skills, and a lot of it is translatable, the ability to move quickly and to understand where you need to move to. That's useful in, I think, every sport for the most part. Maybe not golf, maybe not bowling. I don't know anything about golf or bowling though. So as I said, those small basic foundations for sports are transferable, but your body has to move in a totally different way. Do you call it dribble in soccer? To dribble a soccer ball. You know what? Sorry if you're not in the US. Football. I'm sorry. You know how people in the US are though. Anyway, getting off topic here. To dribble a football and no, I'm saying football. To dribble a soccer ball, and you know why I did that though. And to dribble a basketball requires your body to move in totally different ways. And it's the same in MMA versus boxing. Now, is it exactly as different? I feel like it is, because if you move the same way in boxing that you do in MMA, you're going to get hurt. And it doesn't matter which way you spin it around. If you move the same way in MMA that you do in boxing, you're going to get hurt. Either way, you're going to get hurt. So your body has to move in totally different ways in these two sports, boxing and MMA, much like how your body has to learn in totally different ways in basketball and soccer. Now, what, in my opinion, makes it even more challenging to go from boxing to MMA versus going from basketball to soccer is when you are doing a combat sport, whether it's MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, judo, boxing, any combat sport, you have someone in front of you who is actively trying to hurt you. And yeah, that can happen in other sports too, but it's specific to combat sports. But when you have someone in front of you who's actually trying to hurt you, adrenaline kicks in, animal instincts kick in, and your brain, the big part of your brain, from what I understand, I only do research on neuroscience as a hobby, but from what I understand, the big part of your brain isn't able to really do much in those moments where you're running on adrenaline, and it's the little part of your brain which rules the muscle memory and the automatic reactions that comes into play. So what can be very challenging is you trained your body to move in this certain way, it wound up in your muscle memory, and then you have to convince your body to move in a different way all of a sudden when your body feels that its life is in danger. So it's like an absurd level of self-control that I don't think is reasonable. I would love to hear the perspective of an actual professional when it comes to like how the brain works and how it affects athletics, because I'm not a professional there. But I don't think it's actually possible. And every boxer who I've seen who has transitioned to MMA, and every MMA fighter who I've seen has transitioned to boxing, they have moments where they slip up, not on purpose, and it either causes them to get hurt or they hurt someone else. And I'm not saying that you should never be able to switch sports, because I don't agree with that. I love seeing boxers who come into MMA. I love seeing MMA fighters challenge themselves to work on their boxing more and be able to come into the ring for a boxing match. I love watching it. I'm a fan of it. But I want people to understand how actually challenging it is, and that we're comparing apples and oranges here, and they're not the same sport. So back when we had the McGregor versus Mayweather fight, I felt obligated to try to explain this to everyone, and I felt like no one ever actually listened to me. Like, some people did, but I feel like most people don't understand it, and I feel responsible for it, and I feel like I have to explain it to them. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to explain, and honestly, at this point in time, I'm not interested in sharing any other opinions about anything on here. I just want people to understand that boxing and MMA are not the same sport. That's it. So if you're interested in following my page, Boxing Mermaid, on Facebook, I have this cute little mermaid logo. She's got her boxing gloves, and she's a badass. And it's basically just to encourage people to train in martial arts and keep them motivated, keep them inspired, and know that they have a place in martial arts, because anyone can train. Martial arts is for everyone. All right. Peace out, y'all. Bye.